I want to continue our sermon series for Advent and Christmastide called Certain Semi-Sacred Symbols of the Season. Donkey today. As you heard from the gospel lessons this morning, Carpenter Joseph and Mother Mary needed a lot of transportation both before and after their son Jesus was born. First of all, Joseph and Mary had to make their way from their hometown of Nazareth to Bethlehem in Judea, where Joseph's family was from, to register for the census, and that's about 100 miles. If they had to walk, it would take them about a week to do that. And then, of course, after the baby is born, Joseph is warned in a dream that Herod wants to destroy the child, so they have to flee to Egypt for safety. And so that's well over 100 miles. It would have taken them another week for them to walk. And then after living in Egypt for a couple of years, they would have had to make their way back to their hometown of Nazareth, and that is well over 200 miles. That would have taken them 2 weeks to walk. Now, the Bible doesn't mention a donkey in the Christmas story. The only donkey in the Jesus story comes 30 years later on Palm Sunday. But ever since the Bible was written, it's been irresistible not to place a donkey in the biblical story, because it's so hard to think about a pregnant woman walking 100 miles just before her baby is born. So there might have been a donkey when the Holy Family was traveling. There may have been another donkey in the stable to welcome Jesus into this life, as you heard from that call to worship, that poem I read a moment ago. Here are a couple of fun facts about donkeys. A boy donkey is called Jack. A girl donkey is called Jenny. A baby donkey is called a foal. They can live about 30 years. They are extremely sociable animals. They love being together, and they are very loyal to each other and to their human friends. And this is kind of nice to know. Donkeys are way smarter than we give them credit for. Maybe as smart as a horse. Reese Witherspoon has a donkey. Arnold Schwarzenegger has a donkey. Bridget Bardot has a donkey. A couple of weeks ago, there was an article in the New York Times about a man named Ron King, who had had a 20-year career at Time Inc., the magazine company. During the course of his career, Mr. King had run big magazines like InStyle and Southern Living, but then when he was about 50 years old, he found out that many, many donkeys in the United States are slaughtered for their hides, which are used for medicine in China. And so Mr. King quit his magazine career and started a donkey sanctuary in Northern California. It's called Oscar's Place because Oscar was the name of Mr. King's favorite cat. So far, Mr. King has rescued 77 donkeys. There are 50 more due in January. When the donkeys arrive at Oscar's Place, they are very often in rough shape because they've been neglected for very long. But Mr. King and his volunteers nurse the donkeys back to health and travel the United States looking for homes, mostly farms, for these donkeys to live out their lives. And that story gladdened my heart. I thought that was such a wonderful way to spend your life, way better than magazine career. And so I thought you'd like to hear that. So anyway, there is no donkey in the Christmas story in the Bible, but there might have been in the stable to welcome the baby Jesus and to carry the very pregnant Mary from Nazareth to Bethlehem, from Bethlehem to Egypt, and from Egypt back to Nazareth. And that's why, for many of us, a donkey is a semi-sacred symbol of the season. I don't see any donkeys here today, but I see many dogs, and I saw at least one cat. So why don't you bring your animals to Christine and me up here on the chancel steps, center aisle, make a big circle, okay?